walk. If he's already threatening that he's going to walk, he's going to walk. And in my mind, I was like, I reject it in Jesus' name. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tommy Daniels.
And my name is Seyi Daniels.
Welcome. Okay, I film about faith, lifestyle, relationships, property, and today's video is a property related video, but it's also a story time, and we're going to be talking to you about when our builders walked off. Yes, I guess this is, well, yeah, would you say that it was a rogue trader? Maybe.
At the end of the day.
Anyway, let's not. We'll get into the story. All right. Please, before we go on, can you please make sure that you subscribe to my channel? Yes, subscribe. Subscribe to my channel, please. Like the videos, leave your comments below. I really love to read and hear from you. And also, the likes and the shares, they really help the algorithm. And I'm really trying to grow my channel, as you may or may not have noticed. So please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. All right then, let's get into the video. Start us off, or maybe I should I start us off?
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay, so we completed on this property. It's a buy-to-let property, so an investment property. I got the builder. Well, actually, story of getting the builder. So this builder was actually recommended to us by one of the tradesmen that we've been working with. We've worked with him on a different project. We're still working with him till today. So he recommended him, and I think the reason why he said he recommended him was because we felt like the budget that we had, that he was kind of going to accept that. Yeah. So because it kind of came from recommendation, I feel like we let our guard down a bit, and sense that I guess maybe not doing enough due diligence on him. So this person was an elderly person. He said he didn't use smartphones, so he literally had like a phone, like I don't know, an ancient phone, that barely had a camera, really ancient. Like when I'm like those really small, I don't know if it was a Nokia phone or something. So that was the phone he used. He doesn't use social media. He turns off his phone at 6 p.m. every day. So I just thought, oh, it's an older. I guess I had some sort of comfort in thinking like it's an elderly person. It's probably just used to doing this. It's not like, social media savvy. Obviously, him not being on social media him not having like a smartphone also meant like he literally didn't have a website, had nothing. So there was no place to check the reviews.
It was so bad, he doesn't even text.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't text?
No, but he reads text, but he doesn't send text out.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So that was how we got him. I think one of the main thing was obviously it wasn't the cheapest we got, we got at the time, but it was one of the cheapest, and it kind of just seemed reasonable. The timelines he gave was also reasonable, so we felt. And the funny thing is,
the timelines were ambitious, which we wanted.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, we actually had to wait for him for about 5 or 6 weeks. Because he was still on a project, which also made us feel like, this isn't someone that is just available today, so they're ready to go. So the fact that I was working on a project just made him sit like, it don't seem legit. So I was like, yeah, it's fine, we'll just wait for 5 weeks, which I guess again was a learning call for us in terms of like where we completed on the purchase. I guess we should have delayed it towards the time that this was ready, but again, that's a different topic. So work started, and I'll let you take over from here.
Yeah, I remember before work started, he met me up on site for a couple of times, because I was a bit apprehensive about the fact that he wasn't going to give me a contract, he wasn't going to send an invoice, he wasn't going to do anything. But here's what he said. He said, if I can draw it up, he would come and put a signature to it. So I met him up on site, explained everything that we wanted to do, and then we had an agreement which we both signed, and we had the payment terms and all of that in place. Yeah,
on the payment plan. So what the plan was with the payment was we were going to pay him like a certain amount of money for like the first, I think it was 5 weeks. No, it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be 12 weeks. Sorry, it was going to do the work for 12 weeks. I think.
No. It was 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
It was 6 weeks.
Oh, so we're going to pay him for 5 weeks, and then the rest of the balance, which was still like more than 50% was going to be given to him at completion, which also made us feel, comfortable in the fact that he still had a lot, I guess over 50% of his money, like, still with us at completion. Yeah.
But I mean, he said 6 weeks. We've done other smaller projects, and we knew that was going to take, and smaller projects took about 6 weeks. So we were almost sure that this was going to take much longer. So we already anticipated for an extra 2 weeks buffer. Anyway.
But sorry, there is I didn't make the point I wanted to make about like the payment plan. So the weekly payment plan did not include like detailed list of like the jobs they would have completed in that week to be paid for. So he just said, oh, every week you pay me X amount of money. But what we should have done and what we're told and what our mentor told us, which again now we've learned properly,
the hard way.
We've learned the hard way, is the fact that we should have he should list exactly what it was going to get done in that week. So if it was going to plaster, demolish, fix, whatever it was going to do that week, you needed to have like, itemized it. So we know it wasn't just a case of I'm paying you per week. Like if you haven't done X, Y, Z, I can easily say you haven't done this, which came back to bite us. But you find out.
So finally, it was supposed to start. He told us we're going to wait for 4 weeks. We were happy with it. And then when time was closed, he said, oh, sorry, he's still on this job and he couldn't finish. Anyway, he started on the 6th week. And when he started, the first few days, so the first thing he said was that he had a large team to work with.
He had all trades.
Yeah, he had all trades. So
plumber to electric. Electrician. We had sorted out electric separatly. So he said we had plumber, carpenter, like woodwork, everything. Like he's got it.
So we
lies,
lies upon lies. So the very first week, he didn't get to do much because he was stripping down. Taking back to bare walls, so taking off wallpapers and just doing some bit of work and clearing out things. So he did. There wasn't much that was done the first week, but he did excuse it on the fact that he was still trying to finish up the other job, and he knew that we had been waiting for long. So he just decided to come in and then here and there. So I had a conversation with him to tell him that we need to move quick on this work and all of that. And at the end of the week, he asked for his first installmental payment. Now,
mistake one.
Now, bear in mind that we were just going to. We didn't pay him before he started. So he's worked a few days. I was like, okay, that's fine. Let's give it to him. So we gave it to him, the first installmental payment. So the following week, I think I went on site and I saw like 4 people on site. Which was good again, but they were still stripping down and they were taking their time. But it was good to see quite a lot of people on site. It meant that maybe it truly had those people and they were just busy somewhere else. Anyway, at the end of the second week, we realized that nothing was really being done. They were still stripping down. But again, he did ask for payment at the end of the second week, and we gave it to him again.
Mistake 2 or 3 at this point, because the first one was how we chose him. That was the first
and then at this point, it was a bit concerning for me, especially because I was looking at the timeline that if this was going to take us 6 weeks, according to him, and week 2 we're still stripping down, and there's still quite a lot to be done. It's quite a big project. So, and
I think he was also already telling us that he was finishing up a job, or he was doing so it was he wasn't even like hiding the fact that he wasn't coming to site, like he was doing something else.
So we're on the 3rd week, and then things they were done with stripping back to the bare walls, and then they started actually putting up some things, plasterboard, bits here and there, and then I noticed that he wasn't particularly doing what we wanted him to do, say like the actual work itself. He started doing the peripheral things, say like clearing the garden, which I would have thought would be like the very last thing to do. Anyway, so he's done the garden. We can see that the garden is done. He's done some bits of work at the end of the 3rd week, and yet, he asked for payment, and his justification was always the fact that
it would always say like, oh, like on the weekend, like they're gonna be here, like they're just going to work. and they weren't really like they were there on some weekends. But I remember like, do you remember like the
It's Saturday.
Saturday that we went? Like, he was supposed to be. He said he was working on the Saturday, so we went. Like, I think we were supposed to meet him for something. And then we met him, and then as soon as we left, like, well, we left before him. So the impression was that he'd be working and he was going to continue working. So we left before him, but like we stayed in the car for a bit,
and we circled back,
and then we went back. So when we came out, like, you know, through the car park or so, then we saw him leaving as well. Like pretty much immediately we left, and then I just realized that actually I don't think he came. I think he came literally for
just
that
to
meeting,
meet us.
but then he tried to make his Simmons do like he was working that day as well.
Yeah, so I would call him up, or I would have meetings, and I'll tell him, you know, the timeline seems to be dragging a bit, and then he just kept on giving excuses with the fact that, okay, yeah, we added some bit of work to be done, so that is going to extend the timeline ever so slightly, but we were fine with that because the agreement we had was that we'll do the instrumental payments, maybe 5 instrumental payments, and we'll stop paying until the work is done. So now we probably had 2 more instrumental payments to do, and then I would go to site and it wouldn't be on site. I would probably find just one person.
One person that was literally like, that seemed like an handyman. No, I think it was like, like an handyman, someone that he was just paying. And then turns out like it wasn't really paying, because we ended up getting in contact with that person. So turns out like it wasn't really paying the person, and it was paying him chicken change to start with, and then it was still owing him because the person was telling us that, oh, like, you know, he'd been owing him. I mean, we knew that was true because he also, the person that the tradesman that recommended him to us also said, you know, like he didn't, like he had issues with money or whatever. He had said something about like, I think at the start that there was something to do with money. So he had issues with him, and he wanted us to, the tradesman wanted us to pay him separately from, you know, the builder, separate. So we knew that, you know, that guy wasn't lying, because there was another, like one of the other guys as well that he brought he brought on site, that almost became like manager at this point. Also, like, you know, constantly talked about him. I think he talked about like him owing him money.
So by the 3rd week, when things were in, you know, particularly going smooth, I had a conversation with him, and then he said, you know what, I'm gonna get somebody who's a professional, who does a certain trade, but the person is going to join him and become his partner, and that they were going to, you know, get things done and do it really quickly because the other guys had left him, you know, maybe some had COVID, you know, just excuses. Yeah, so I was happy with that. The person he promised that would come, person came in, person talked a lot, and I think the person actually talked more than he did, but I mean, the person did a fair bit of work. And now we had gotten to, you know, we had exhausted the arranged instrumental payments. Yeah. And I think we were just waiting for another, okay, by this time, by the 5th week, he had told us that, okay, it's now going to be 8 weeks. Yeah, so we're like, that's fine. You know, we already estimated, or we already made provision for that to happen. Now, a bit to backtrack, the times when I've gone on site in the earlier weeks, the laborer that had been working with him, the handyman, did tell me that he really realistically doesn't see this job being done in 3 months. Especially
with the amount of people that were on site. It was like most times it was only 2 people. So the main builder and this handyman before like the other partner that he got came in. So it was like, how will you realistically finish, like, you know, this project with just 2 people predominantly?
So that person already said, you know what, this work was going to finish in 3 months, and I was like, you're kidding, as in, you know, I just really left that there. Anyway, back to after he brought in the new guy, we went on holiday, and I wasn't able to, well, we weren't able to visit site, obviously, for like a week and a half.
Probably more. Yeah. Because even when we got back, or even when I got back, like I still didn't go like very well.
Yeah, so like a couple of weeks, and then we had somebody go check on the property for us, and then the person had a conversation with the builder, and the builder said, oh, we were holding them back with regards to materials and all of that, and which wasn't true. So we phoned him up and then said, oh, how's work going and all of that, and he then said that he was going to need another month or 2 months, and he needed more money as well.
He won't have said 2 months, probably a month.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, the more money, that was the reason.
So like, he said he needed more money, and then this was when
that was this. To be honest, at this point, now in hindsight, realize that at this point is when we should have definitely like, you know, just
Yeah.
counted our losses and just said, you know, we can't
Cut
do this.
ties and then move on.
Or to be honest, like at the beginning when it was like, you know, always like going about to do other projects, we really should have kind of
stern.
we should have been stern and just
then-
make, and then if he still carried on, we just have to say, you know what, don't worry, like it's not working.
Pack up your stuff
But I
and go.
guess, you know, there was the fear of, oh my god, like it started, and you know, like how like if you have an unfinished project, it was probably harder to get a builder to carry on. So it was just that fear, and we'll come back to that fear as well, like in terms of like why we carried on. But one of the things I wanted to mention, like, okay, talk about like when he asked for more money.
So
and,
he
the
did
excuses it was given.
asked for more money, made excuses about
Like-
how he underquoted for the work. And
then it would say like, oh, he needed to pay his mortgage.
oh yeah, that he needed to pay his mortgage, he needed
You need to pay the guys on site. You need to
And
pay.
then-
I'm just like, you quoted for all these things. You made it seem like all these people work for you. Like, so why are you telling us you need to pay your mortgage? Like, am I supposed to fund your like? I also need to pay my mortgage. I don't tell my boss that at work. Like, it's, you know, this is like the amount what the job costs. Like, but because, and it wasn't working. Like those first few weeks, it really wasn't working. But then now, you know, you're basically asking me to fund your life. Like, who does that?
So after he had a conversation with us when we're abroad, I think we had a conversation in the morning. Somebody checked on the project for us the previous day. We had a conversation in the morning of the next day, and by 2 p.m. So I did tell him that, you know, let's have a conversation later. And then by 2 p.m. I got a message from one of his guys saying they've packed up their stuffs and that they were gone.
That they left the project.
Yeah, that they were walking away, or that they had walked away. And at this point, just put a bit of context into, well, almost to like rationalize why we behaved the way we did, which is no excuse in hindsight. We had friends who were doing projects as well, building projects, and they've had their builders walked away.
About this time as well, like
About
in
this
different
time.
areas.
Yeah, and we knew how difficult it was for them to even, you know, get people to come and view the property, because, you know, it just seemed like there was a high demand for builders and there were not enough builders. So we didn't want to sort of get into the same situation. So I
felt
believe
like we're trying to hold on to him,
Yeah.
even though at that point it should have been clear. And one of the things that, you know, our mentor again, which is shout out Icon, we do like, you know, mastermind with them, property mastermind with them. And one of the things she said at that point, like the moment is, she said that like if he's saying it's going to work, it's going to work. And I remember in my mind, like she was on the phone, and I said if he's saying it's going to work, if he's already threatening that it's going to work, it's going to work. And in my mind I was like, I reject it in Jesus' name. Well, it did work.
So, to cut the long story short, we called him up the following day. We appeased him. We appealed to his better senses, and then we said we were going to.
We agreed to increase
to make
again.
the
This, like,
payment.
we shouldn't have done this. What we should have done, if we wanted to do, was kind of. I think what we still did is eventually to say, look, if you finish this one by whatever at this certain time, I will add, you know, I don't know if you give him an amount or so that was so,
but that was much later.
when we're still trying to like,
because by the time we now came back to him and said, okay, please come back to site and come and work, he did make a demand, and he said he needed X amount of money before he got back to site.
the X amount of money he was asking for was even more than he had been getting on a weekly basis, and it was like times 3 what he had been getting on a weekly basis, and said he needed it like that day. I'm like, am I a cash, like you need it that day? Like, yeah, I'm like, we're not like, you know, cash machine. He asked for it that day and said, oh, if you can't do it that day, or we should give him half of what he was asking that day, and the remaining half, I think maybe by Monday or something, that
by a couple of days.
I think, so that we could see, like, you know, I was like, okay, we'll see what the progress would have been by this time. And I think the other part of it was because obviously Seyi is the one, you know, doing like the property full time. I still have a 9 to 5, and he wasn't around at that time, so that just like really made it difficult for me, because I was still like busy with many other things. But if it was on ground, I guess, you know, again, we probably it could have been easier. But at the end of the day, it's still all like it's a lot of mistakes on our part, to be honest. And carry on.
And at this point, we were a bit concerned because we had projected timeline on this project to finish this project. We had another project in the pipeline lined up that was waiting for this to be done.
So we even showed him, you know, hoping that would also
we took
make him
to
like
the site of the next project, and then we were quite ecstatic about the possibilities of getting all of those done quickly. So I think at this point our motivation was just finish this project. If it was going to cost us so much more, we would pay just for it to finish this project. Now,
and also the rationale behind that was also we're thinking that, to be honest, like what he quoted initially seemed quite seemed underpriced. So I was like, okay, so if we're still going over, like we're still comfortable and we're doing the numbers and I'm like the deal still stacks up properly, like even if he added so much, of course, like within reason
amount,
even he added so much more, there was like it was still okay. So that was the reason why we were kind of willing to carry on that way. But so he had someone, I think you stopped off where you dropped off where he said he had some more money to come back, and
so
then we agreed.
To put this in context so you would understand a bit better, say for example the initial budget was 20,000 to do the job. By the time he walked away and was coming back, he had increased it and said he wanted about 30k as opposed to the 20k, which we agreed to. And then obviously
again, wrong move, because at this point they also know, like, if it seems like you're going to keep bending to their every wish, and then they're just going to try to get as much from you as possible. So again, at that point, we really should have just counted our losses and moved on, but we didn't.
Another thing that happened was that the partner that he got, or that they started working together, the partner walked away
from him.
So it was back to him, which meant that it was taking time. And I think maybe he said he fell down or he had an accident or something. So he wasn't working at optimum. So I got back from my vacation, and then I went to site, and then we had a long conversation. And right there, I think I remembered he was saying that he needed some money, that day, which was against
ridiculous.
Everything. We agreed that if he could finish the project, or I believe that we said
like a month, I think.
Yeah, that he would get the money. So he was asking that he needed money for mortgage and all of that. And at this point, it was clear to us that this project was taking so much longer, and with this guy doing it, he would need to really, really work hard to get it done, ASAP.
And even that day when you were having this meeting with him, he left as well because he went to another job.
So I got to site that day. He wasn't there. I called him, and then he came around and he said, that another client that I had worked with told him to come around because there was an inspection being done. And then, so he was coming for that. So he literally came for a meeting with me.
Yeah, and he told you that if he goes there and he gets paid for that day, then you won't need to pay him today. Almost like blackmailing you to let him go there.
So I allowed him go. So, and then I spoke with the guy, with the laborer that he was working with. And the person said this was his first time of coming to site in the last 2 days. And that day, he had only just come, when I asked for the meeting. Anyway, it was at this point
we knew
that we knew that.
But we're still hopeful.
Yeah, we were still very hopeful because there was a lot that was at stake with this particular project. So we then had to stand our ground. Finally, we spoke with our mentor, Tony, and then she just told us, you know what, guys, you can't keep giving this guy money. So you've got to stand your ground and tell him that he needs to finish this, and then you will give him money. So I went back to him the following day.
I guess again the other thing to note was it's still had a month left on the project, and the amount of money he had left was such, like, compared to what he'd been getting, like, it was kind of chicken change compared, not like it was still a lot of money, but it was like chicken change compared to what he'd been getting. And so if for someone that on a weekly basis was telling you that you had to pay mortgage, you had to do this with this, like, there's no way that you'll be able to last a month realistically on that amount of money. And that was part of the conversations that we're having with Tony, our mentor, and she was saying, and she just said, look, realistically, like, he's not going to be motivated to finish that job on that amount of money. So let's have a serious conversation. Like, let's be open. Like, and also I think with the tradesman, the other tradesman that introduced him to us also told us to tell him, like, if he keeps threatening like to walk, we should also threaten to sue him. Because again, he's not holding up
onto
his own side of the bargain. So we also kind of got to that point where we were like, as in, I think, I don't know if you ever, you told him like to stop threatening, like to walk, that you also sue him. So I think it seemed to calm down a bit, and you had that conversation with him.
No, but just before we get to that part of that conversation, because I think that was the last conversation I had with him. he had gotten to a stage in the project where he had done things in bits, and I really felt that it would be difficult for anybody to take on the job at this time. So
Yeah.
you must understand that I was quite considerate, and I was thinking about the future of the project, even if he left. So, and that was why we were still keen on him working. So I came on site, and then we had a conversation. I told him to stop threatening me, that I was also going to sue him to court. And he said, "Oh no, that everything is fine." And we smiled. So I didn't give him money, and he said, "You know what? He would work extra days." And I think he was supposed to go on holiday as well in a few days. So he said he would push his holiday forward, and then he would do more work, and
I think that's why he also promised
more hours.
And he promised to give him like something at the
Oh
end.
yeah. So and then I just went on to throw in
An incentive.
an incentive that if he finished the job in the time where we are now agreed, that we'll give him something extra. I didn't tell him exactly how much extra, and he said, "Oh, good man," and then we're all good. And guess what?
All this while, I didn't say all this while, like how we kept on saying like we should trust him, we don't trust him.
Yeah. There was a day that he got so angry, and then he said that we don't trust him, we don't want to give him money.
I'm like, why would we trust you? Because every single week, like you change our agreement, you change your like our part of your agreement. We're supposed to have stopped paying you like 5 weeks ago, but then we've been paying every single week. You're coming up with new amounts like every week, and so now you say, oh, like you need to pay the carpenter, for instance, and I'm like, that's all, like it's all part of your own budget and so what you've already quoted for. But yeah.
So we had a conversation, and then I went home. I was happy. It felt like the United Nations, we come to an agreement, and I went home. And then the following day, I called him. He wasn't picking up. I went to site and
got there to find out that it wasn't there.
He had packed up all his
gear.
Tools, he had put the receipts, my receipts for some materials I bought. He had left on the counter. And the door was shut, the key was, where it should be.
And that was it. That's the last time we ever heard from him.
He literally left us in the cold.
We called, like, I haven't done it in a few weeks now, but like then I'll just randomly call him. Like, it won't pick up our calls at all. Like, a couple of times he picked up and he didn't say anything. And I know, because as I said, we said earlier that, his phone, like, is not media, it's not tech savvy at all. So I'm sure, like, he doesn't know how to block a number. If not, if he knew, he probably would have blocked it. So like, he picked up in error like a couple of times, and then he didn't say anything, and then ended the call like after like 2 seconds. I still even plan to send him a text message, and then I think the person that recommended him to us, I think we told that person said, oh, I think they had also cut ties with him or something, and then there was now at this point that the person was saying that, oh, to be honest, like the kind of jobs the guy has done in the past, this job is like times 7 of what he's done in the past. But obviously, like, you're telling us now, thank you very much for that information. So yeah, I guess, the job was too big for him, was overwhelmed. And he just couldn't see himself finishing it, I guess, with the amount of money he had left. And I guess he'd been squandering. What he didn't realize was, then it was even also, remember when he was saying stuff like, oh, he was saying this to me on the phone, like, oh, that he would just call, like, he knows like many places that he can just like, get a job with them, and they will just pay him like, a standard amount of money for this thing, but he doesn't want to do that. Then he was saying that, oh, he's never worked there for a job in all his life, and blah blah blah. But he didn't even talk about like how the review he said he had, like, if you go to a street in a certain area.
So so whilst in the initial conversations, part of it, because he didn't have any review on any platform or any website. So I was like, how can I see what you've done? And then he gave me a postcode and said, if I go on the street, that he probably did
ridiculous
about
think about it.
15 jobs on that road. Now, thinking about it, him just saying that, and then it was recommended, those two sort of added up as well. But thinking about it now,
makes sense. Like, you can literally, like, what am I just supposed to walk into a house and say, oh, please, do you know?
That's what he said. He said I should just go on that street and knock on any door and ask for his name, and they would show, what he had done. And to be honest, that was very silly of us. If we didn't have any reviews, the least we could have done is to go to the place that he mentioned with him and then see the works that he had done. But we didn't do this.
Well, I think all in all, like, it was I guess first of all, the point of this video was to, I guess, be real, like, and honest, and to show you that yes, property investment, while it's great, the rewards are amazing, and while we will do this over and over again, and we're so thankful to have the opportunity to do this, is we wanted to let you know that there are challenges that come with this. And I guess when these challenges do come, then it makes you really think, it makes you kind of think, okay, do you really want this? I mean, for some people, and this is not just about property, for some, just generally life, like for some people, once the challenge comes in, like at the first side of the challenge, they're just throwing the towel and they're like, I'm done. But then when you have this kind of challenges in property, one, it helps you to grow. Like it really does help you to grow. No one really grows from their comfort zone. No. And whilst you don't have to grow, through bad experiences, because you can learn from other people's experiences, but you can and you should certainly grow through these experiences. Now when we got the new builder that carried on the job, we got him to literally itemize everything. So when we're paying him for this, he has also seen that this is done. We didn't even go for the cheaper we kind of learned a lot. We didn't go for the cheaper person. Also that person came up with story, and let's not go into that story. But yeah, we didn't go for the cheaper person
I
at this
think we
point.
should definitely do another video about choosing the right
choosing the right tradesman or builder or how to choose. I think we should definitely do that. But yeah, with the new builder that we got, we made sure he itemized everything. The payment plan was clear, but also one thing that we were doing with that one was we let our guards down in terms of site visits.
Oh yeah,
you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so from the onset of the job, I noticed that each time I went to the property, this guy would literally stop everything he was doing and he was going to walk me around, almost like giving me a 5-star treatment. And he kept on saying, oh, why was I coming to site that? He's got it, he's got it. So I think we didn't see it coming, but I reduced my site visits.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a place where our previous projects, we made a determination that for the next project we're going to do, we're going to be on site, at least every day or every other day. So this guy, he
made it seem like it was also project managing.
Oh yeah, he had guys. He was old. He didn't have much to lose, as it were. He's done this. He sees me like a son. Blah 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 blah. But
at last we found ourselves where we found ourselves.
We lost money, we lost time.
But we learned a lot from the experience, and I think that's only going to make us better property investors and developers.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I hope you've learned, or we hope you've learned from this story, particularly if you're into property investment. I'm pretty sure that there are things, tools and tricks tips that you can take from this video. But even if you're not into property investment, I think generally in life as well, there are definitely things that you can pick. But just remember that no matter how challenging what you're doing is, the project you're working on, be it property or any other thing, no matter what the challenges are, there's always a way out. So don't give up, don't despair, don't throw in the towel. Your breakthrough is literally at the other side of the challenge. Literally, but if you throw in the towel now, you'd never see it. So keep doing it. Property is great. It's got its wonderful rewards. There's so many things that property lets us do, the lifestyle that we have now. That true property, obviously, God using property. We're Christians, in case you hadn't figured that out yet. But yes, God using this avenue to bless us. But we also know that it does have its challenges, and I guess it's higher risk. Is it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. The higher the risks, the higher the profit. And I had the potential mistakes because this could have easily gone sideways. And I was going to say, it got to a time where we had to take this builder matter to prayer. And I'm not even kidding. We actually, I feel like we sowed the seed.
Did we?
Yeah. I did, because it was really a pain in the heart. So there are some things that don't go by praying and fasting. So if you're a property developer and you're in this current situation, or you're just
take it to God in prayer.
Yes, definitely God hears. And when your project is going smoothly, it's not because
you know how to do it. Because we also had that as well. That was fairly smooth. Everything was great. A different project. But yeah, all right. Thank you so much for watching this video. video. As I said, I'm Tommy Daniels. This is Seyi Daniels, my husband. I'm not sure I even introduced you as that. In case it's your first time, please subscribe. Leave your comments video. Let's hear your, tradesmen horror stories or your project horror stories if you're not into property, and just horror stories like that. Let's encourage each other in the comment section. And you never know, someone might be reading it, going through the exact same thing, and then reading your story may make them understand that, okay, this too shall pass. Okay.
And if you watched this video and it was beneficial to you, or it wasn't even beneficial to you, just share it because somebody might benefit from it. Please. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Yes. Goodbye.
Bye.